Your colleague was very gracious in answering a lot of our questions that we had, preliminary questions. Of course, the important ones are reserved for you. But I was wondering if you might tell us a little bit about how PKR relates to Islam and the principles of Islam. And I know in many of your speeches you mentioned about the maqasid sharia and how that has informed the policies and the principles of PKR.
PKR is of course Justice Party, and I have to work with the coalition, the Islamic Party on one hand, also Democratic Action Party. We had a long session today with this controversy surrounding the use of Allah by non-Muslims. Right? Yeah. Here, the practice, particularly the authority under the state religious departments, are quite conservative. I should say neocon in a way, in Islamic sense. For example, they came up with a ruling that the word Allah is confined or only to be used by Muslims and not by non-Muslims. We have difficulty in accepting that because in Sarawak, Sabah, translation of the Bible has always been the use of Allah. And you will speak to me, even to non-Muslims, and they say, Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. Technically, you can't. And I used to joke in my speeches, I said, what do I do? The Archbishop in Jerusalem, his name's Ataullah Hanna. So I'm going to invite him to come here, but he has to change his name first. So you see the no matter of ignorance, but these sort of decisions would not help. So we then come up with a statement saying, look, it's not meant to proselytize. And if the church, for example, terribly want to use the word Allah and try to confuse Muslims, this is a different issue. But here once you translate, it becomes practice. For example, it's not in the English-speaking world, but the Arab world, they all speak Allah, Inshallah, Alhamdulillah. It's normal, it's common, it's part of the language. So you can't actually stop them from doing that. Indonesia, and then the ethnic Chinese or the Christian minority has always used the word Allah. And so it's an example how we have to grapple with some of these problems, for example, in our meetings. It was good that we were able to persuade the president of the Islamic Party to come out with a statement to say there's nothing in Islam or the Quran to deny the rights of anyone using Allah. Our advice and appeal is please use it in a positive sense, and because this is the name that we respect, whatever. This has its bearing because the society is not secular in that sense. It is, well, secularism is of course a very complex term. You ask scholars to deliberate. But we don't take an extreme view of laicite in a sense. So secularism can be seen in a more in a nuanced manner, which is more acceptable in the sense that you do not actually suggest that religion has no relevance to state. On issue of morality, ethics, good governance, you can relate to the issue of religion, okay, or faith. But when you use religion to compel others, either the issue of faith or strict rules or prohibitions, that's where the problem starts. And therefore we define, or at least clear, we made it very clear in our agenda, our principles, when we refer to Islam. I say, what's the relevance of Islam, the Justice Party? I think it is important to also create this awareness among Muslims, particularly in this period where Islam is seen to, and probably perceived to be only the negative sense, terrorism, etc., etc. That's why you refer to the higher objectives of the Sharia, which must be understood, the maqasid of the Sharia. The higher objective, other way you talk about Islamic law, you talk about hudud, of chopping our hands, without understanding what the higher objective of the Sharia is security, if the security must be a major priority, freedom of faith, freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, rule of law, gender equality. Better say this here. In my house, 5 daughters, 1 son, so I lose out every time. Every speech they make, they keep on reminding me they must mention gender equality and justice. I'm not fear to do that. For fear of returning home. So I think essentially that. So people say, I mean, of course, I used to teach at Georgetown, and every lecture, the most of the university in the States, they will ask, how do you then explain your position? You sound very liberal, very tolerant, very democratic. How do you work with the Islamic Party?
Yeah.
See? And I say, but the Islamic Party is not the Taliban. This Islamic Party is not, the Islamists in the sense that they do not give do not support issue of freedom of conscience or gender equality. Of course, they come. You still encounter problems from time to time. Indonesia, this phenomenal change, transformation to a democracy, they still have to grapple about the law on pornography, which I think is absolutely, proper. It's up to them. I don't think you should impose based on Australian standards or French standards. Let them evolve what they do. Then, they come up with the final guideline about the do's and the don'ts. It's still being debated, which is fair. Similarly here, but the problem here is the religious authorities of the state under the Sultan. So there is some sort of inhibition, for you what to say, what not to say, because then they use the authority of the Sultan and they would inhibit this sort of free exchange or reasoned discourse. So to my mind, Islam can be made to be relevant if you promote reasoned discourse. And in a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society like Malaysia, this is so critical. It may sound nice to you, but I suffer immensely because of this. My biggest problem, although I have very strong Islamic credentials, I lecture and I teach about it, and I'm a practicing Muslim, but then still they will hammer me because they think that I'm too Christian. Mahathir, for example, the former Prime Minister, publicly declared Anwar succeeds in becoming the Prime Minister, he will then sell this country to the ethnic Chinese. I talk about justice, I talk about equality. I say, how can you continue to run a state after 54 years of independence and talk about different classes of societies? I'm very strong. I'm Rawlsian in the sense that justice means also distributive justice. I don't accept endemic corruption. I don't accept this marginalization of societies. I don't accept abject poverty tolerated in our societies. So I have strong views, against what's happening here, what's happening in Australia. Okay, because I think the moral high ground, the ethical principles are very strong. But they still do that. And I'm very much involved in the interreligious forum and dialogue internationally, supported by the Vatican and the community of Sant'Egidio and the Jesuits. And I participate in this huge annual program. So I'm therefore a pro-Christian. Okay? And here I publicly promote all Hindu festivals, because ethnic Indians are 10%, poorest, quite marginalized, and I thought, give them that semblance of confidence and they're part of society, so I appear. And of course, I enjoy it in the sense of singing some Hindi song, Bollywood style, and putting on some of the kurta, and the so they call me Hindu. And this is official in the mainstream media. Okay. Does it have that impact on society? No. So do not never underestimate the wisdom of our people. But it is a problem which you will have to address. So I think for our from our experience speaking, I think religion has a role, but there's you have a danger, because like all ideologies can be easily manipulated and exploited. Okay. But to me, it can be a source of strength because you relate the issue of ethics. This country is a rich country, it's an oil-producing country. When you look at states like Sabah, Sarawak, which is closer to Australia, very rich states, but the Gini coefficient in the rich and poor is just totally unacceptable. You have really people living in abject poverty, completely marginalized. I use it for the Muslims. I said, what is justice? Why do you talk about Islam when you condone exploitation, halal, parlor? Why do you talk about Islam when you discriminate not only the other minorities, but also the Muslim poor? So I have strong views of even how we treat our Indonesian and Filipino migrants into Sabah. So I have strong views on how the Australians treat the foreigners.
Yeah.
So I think that there is where, but they see you don't need to have religion. I know a lot of secular guys who have very strong ethical principles in that sense. They're fair. I don't have a problem with that. After all, in my party, the majority are Muslims, but we have a Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, vice presidents and the top leadership in the party. So I don't think there's a problem. But the strength is everything is discussed there, which was not the case. Because I was in government before, and then we have the ruling party, the UMNO. We don't. I mean, it's just what the Malays and the Muslim thing. It doesn't matter what the other thing, because we are the majority. So it's a different scenario.
Would it be okay for
okay.
questions?
May I start? I just, well, first I'd like to say thanks for meeting us. It's really quite an honour to meet you, so I do appreciate it. I'm sure we all do. I was just in a taxi before, and my taxi driver, I asked him about, I told him that I was coming to meet you, and he said, well, say hi from me. He's a great fan, and he said that he is very confident that you will be the next Prime Minister of Malaysia, and he said that cars will be cheaper and there will be no tolls on the freeway. So he has high expectations, but I think that it's not as simple as that.
Yes.
Really. And your party would govern in coalition with several other parties, and one of them being an Islamist party and the other one being mainly Chinese influences. So how will that really work? I imagine there will be a lot of compromises. It will be very difficult to actually instigate change, real change to the present system.
Compromise, if it is an issue of tolerating excesses of corruption, is what Gandhi said, compromise is the art of the devil.
Yes.
But it's compromise in the sense that, you get to adjust tax of 20%, could be less, 10%, whatever, which is to me acceptable. Yes, a lot of adjustments will be made. For example, in the Allah issue, to me simple. I can clear it in 2 minutes. I said, Prophet Muhammad became thrown as a prophet when he was 40. Father is Abdullah. Clearly non-Muslim, because it's not. So if the Prophet's father's name is Abdullah, who are you to deny non-Muslims? So he was Allah, finished. Close subject. But here I have to deal with the Islamic Party, who gives the argument and that, and you have to respond. So this sort of adjustments has to be made, right? And say for the Chinese party, their preoccupation was this is Chinese issues, business, taxes, very little concern about what these poor indigenous tribes are struggling to live in this land. So these adjustments to be made. You are right. I don't see that much of a problem. That is why what we did, instead of adopting learning the experience of countries that have formed governments through this of coalition, we in our coalition prior to elections, we agreed on a common agenda, common platform, and we worked on a very detailed program. And it's guaranteed, for example, a lot of concerns and fear among non-Muslims about the position of the Islamic Party when it comes to issues of faith, rights of Christians or Buddhists, Hindus. So I got them to sign the document. We are here to protect the constitutional guarantees, and that include freedom of expression, freedom of religion, etc. Of course, from time to time, the past, the Islamic Party youth would oppose. They opposed the coming of Beyonce.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
I'm not a great fan of Beyonce. But I mean, I see it's no problem. My aim, because my generation was Beatles and Elvis Presley and Paul Anka, and I memorized all those songs. You see, why must I then deny my children if they want to be a fan? Oh, because dress code, etc. I was a great fan of Elvis Presley. I never used his hairstyle. I know all my colleagues, virtually all my colleagues, would invariably be slightly influenced. Trying to, it's a very difficult hairstyle here, with end it that way. So I see that there's of course he became unfortunately drunk, and we don't need necessarily to be drunk because he's a great singer. Okay, so that's our position. But do we need to compromise? Yes, dress code, okay, And some of these people, they do follow, some don't. When I was in government, there was you remember this film, this movie, Schindler's List?
Yeah. Yes.
Right? The government here banned. I was a minister. I was supposed to be the liberal face. I was so embarrassed. And so I went to Mahathir. I said, you can't ban Schindler's List. This is a pro-Jew movie. I said, it's Holocaust. It's not a pro-Jew movie. It's a defense of their, the atrocities inflicted. So finally he said, okay. I said, can I watch the movie and then advise the censorship board? So I watched the movie. I see nothing wrong. So I recommended the cabinet, nothing wrong. And then the Minister of Information said, but there were naked scenes. And the naked scene of all these, prisoners, half dead, but naked. So the most I could do just to get the movie going, but they wanted to censor that part. But who's the director? Steven Spielberg. Spielberg then said no, not one. Although it's very minor. But he knew I tried. So that's why when I was in prison later, he came out with a statement supporting me.
Oh.
Not bad,
Yeah.
Of course, I had Mel Gibson too. I wanted Kate Winslet, I didn't. So yes, compromise. Now, they see the excuse of being populist because you talk about reducing the price of petroleum, reducing price of cars, and cancelling the toll for the highway. Now I have my explanation. I was 8 years Minister of Finance. We registered 10% growth. We had surplus. I managed the economy and prepaid, we call prepayment. No country in the world did that. There was appointed the chairman of the development committee of the IMF, the World Bank. It was the only country that said, look, we have a lot of money. If I table it, Mahathir will spend all, and he wants the tallest tower, longest bridge, it's just the biggest city, he has that. And so quickly I prepaid, 12 billion, which is a lot of money. I'm talking about 1990s. Now, so I know what I'm talking about. We are profit and royalty and taxes from petroleum and related industries. And who monopolizes that now? Mahathir's son controls the Petronas contracts. That's why he's very scared. Just thinking of Anwar taking over, just immediately get on his nerve. But I see that if you into the coffers of the treasury so much money, why don't you reduce a bit the price of petroleum? We are oil producing, oil exporting countries. You can compare our price to that of Australia or of Japan. They are net importers. We are net exporters. Do I want to reduce substantially? No. I think we have to do gradually. That's one. Now, why do I say about reduction of the price of cars? Here we have its protection for proton. Okay. So I see we have a system where cronies are given import permit for the imported cars. They call APs, approved permits for cars. So they give all the top UMNO guys, families of ministers and political leaders. I want to cancel that and tender it out. And we can have a revenue of 2 billion ringgit. From there, I will reduce the tax for the other cars, assembly car, which means it can be BMW, but locally assembled. Then we can reduce the excise duty by 20% a year, which can be covered by the new tender for the EP is 2 billion. It's no cost of the government. It's how you manage the government. How much loss we have a year from leakages, extravagance, corruption? 20 billion ringgit, according to the Auditor General. I say if I might have a team who have corrupt guys, I will hang them. Not literally. You know what? So there is. I went through a very difficult life. Okay, I had to struggle. I was detained earlier before I joined government 2 years under the Internal Security Act for supporting the poor farmers. When I was much younger, I was in my 20s, 2 years in prison without trial. Then 6 years of this quoted charge. And assaulted to near death. Okay, stripped naked. Okay, solitary confinement. Now, so I think this week covers story to hell and back. Okay, for what? For money? For just the glamour being a prime minister? I was already acting prime minister. So I think you have to prove that you can do and alleviate the conditions of the poor. When you talk about poverty, I experienced it. You talk about being assaulted, badly treated, cruelly and unjustly. Yes, you understand the way the judiciary has been manipulated, or the police, or instruments of government. So you have to learn from the experience to protect your people. So I think that is my dream. And what is it? You can afford the car, reduce tax where it's reasonable. But what's probably not told by the taxi driver to you is that I would start with the public transportation policy. You must make sure it is efficient and cheap. Okay. Here everything done to cronies. Every project is just handed out. If it's 1 billion, it becomes 1.4 billion. That is why the Auditor General in his report say every year there's 20 billion ringgit leakages due to corruption, etc. In the year 2020, I don't know you are familiar with Global Financial Integrity, GFI. They monitor illicit funds outflow from most developing countries. From Malaysia, we're number 2 in 2010, number 2 in the world, 190 billion ringgit, which is what? 50 billion US dollars a year, 2010, number 2 in the world. Now, what is illicit funds? Corruption, transfer pricing or mispricing, stolen money, etc., etc. Okay, it may not be 180, it can be 100 or 50. There's enough to cover most of these expenses. No toll, no south toll. People, because being criticized by the government, they say I'm irresponsible. We have been collecting toll for the last 40 years. I used to teach Georgetown. I stayed in Western Virginia. 2 toll roads. One you still pay, one stop paying. They asked, why do you stop paying? Because already 20 years they've collected enough money plus profit plus for maintenance. We have collected the cost plus interest plus is 6 billion. We have collected 20. Who owns the company? UMNO, the ruling party. So I say stop. Yeah. So that is the thing. Now, what has the relevance about Islamic studies here? To me, is ethics. To me, you talk about religion minus ethics, minus morality. When you condone excesses, abuse, and corruption, is irrelevant. So I then you can say exploit. With the understanding of Islam, I say, what is it? Why you talk about so much of Islam? And you inflict so much hardship and cruelty to others. I said taxi drivers in this country must be given a permit to run taxi. Because now the rich cronies are given. One, for example, has 250 permits. So you sublet to the drivers, they earn, they go to collect $20 and give to you every day $20. For what? For just a permit. And the car price the car. So I said, look, I take over the government. I'm calling out all those fellows with permits. I say, you keep the permit, you drive the car. You don't drive the car, return the permit to the drivers. They don't have the money, the government will provide the initial capital, a loan, a soft loan, to buy these taxis. You can't manage on their own, you set up your own cooperatives or your own companies, you have share. Manage it well and efficiently, and we'll be very tough with you. We give you the money, you give the license, you give the permits, you don't behave, you cancel the license. They know me, I'm tough. Popular in the sense that they want the permit. I say, yeah, the permit. You smile. You don't cheat. Because compared to what this government is doing, we're giving you everything possible. But you honor your commitment.
May I ask a question a little
Yes,
bit
yes.
off field? However, I believe that they're very interconnected, especially when you look at different faiths, etc. There's a lot of them believe that whatever it is for a person, it can be for a society, or it runs out that way. So I suppose it's what makes you happy, or what would make you happy?
Yeah, because you have to close the door. I have a good family, a lovely wife and children, and they actually have a source of strength. My wife she's an ophthalmologist. She studied at the Royal College of Surgeons in Dublin, very Irish. And I was very fortunate. Even when I was Deputy Prime Minister, my children, they went to normal schools. They mix with the normal people. They don't mix with the upper classes, including the minister's children. So I'm very happy with that. But I'm a happy guy. I even in the most difficult period in prison, I sing a lot. You see, when I came out of prison, people, all this, some big gathering, about 20,000, 30,000 there, and then in front will be all these religious scholars, Islamic party leaders, and I have to speak about my experience in prison. Of course, you see, you pray a lot, you meditate, you read the Quran, but you say that you are dishonored because that's not all. So I have to say, I also sing a lot. And I can see all the share the religious teachers.
May I respond to that?
Yeah.
There's actually there was a study done by two French, I think they were sociologists or professors anyway, and they went around the world actually finding the happiest people, and they found that there were two things that the happiest people had. The first was an intent to be happy. The second was an appreciation and love for music.
That's great.
Mm.
I agree with you. I'm not a great singer, but I sing along. And I said yes. To survive in prison, if you read Papillon, for example, you have to have a rigid routine. It's just like you have to finish this book this week. You have to do this. You have to do this, and most occasions you can't meet the deadline. So you are actually very busy in that context. So what do? I wake up very early in the morning, say 4:30 in the morning, from 5 to 7. I will recite the Quran and try to memorize the Quran and the Hadith, and then break, and they send me what they call breakfast. So you have to tolerate that. Then I have my shower, and I'll take a long time to shower. Because I'll sing English song and one or two Malay songs, and one or Hindi song, because I know some.
Which Hindi songs?
Dost Naraha, Pyara Pyara Naraha, Sangam, for example.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So it takes a long time. And of course my television is now never Elvis Presley or Hard Day's Night of Beatles or Nelson or Paul Anka. They're great songs those days. But some have now has come back, Bee Gees and some of these numbers, they've come back. So and I was amazed, my God, I didn't realize I memorized so many songs. And the prison guards, because I was the convict at that time. So every movement, now he has gone to the washroom. So they have to write. Now his first song, it's now or never. Everything recorded. So it's a big thing. Of course I can't get hold of it. But the prison officers told me, don't worry, everything's recorded. So you need to write later when you form government.
Yeah.
Now I can't get it. I can get hold of the entire report because they write everything, every single song. He's now singing a Hindi song. He finished. He was shouting. He was this. He was that. Because at that time I had back pain. I was on a wheelchair. But after the assault, of course at first I have to use. They don't give a shower in the prison. But then when the doctors saw me, I had difficulty in movement, so they gave me hot water for shower. That helped immensely. But you sing, you're happy, you love music, and I do a lot. Although we don't have time, I don't watch. In fact, my daughter just told me that I must watch Les Miserables. I told her, I disagree. You must read the book, The World of a Difference. I read earlier, I reread it when I was in prison. Okay? And then, I watched the theatre once in New York, once in London. Beautiful performance of Les Miserables. And of course, my daughter said, Papa, watch the movie, it's good enough, it's a great movie. That's the danger. You think the movie can cover Victor Hugo's masterpiece? No way. It was a brilliant novel. I think I wouldn't accept any student of mine, say when I was teaching at Georgetown, who have not read Les Miserables. I said, no, I wouldn't accept that. He says, the professor is not part of this. I don't care. You have to read that. Like Moby Dick, Les Miserables. Of course, the entire works of Shakespeare. I spent a lot of time reading. I read 4.5 times the entire works of Shakespeare with notes. Okay? So you want to do it, stay in prison.
Do you believe that everything, all the adverse things that have happened in your life though has given you the strength and the passion and the drive and the vision for a future here in Malaysia?
Yeah, a lot, really. I mean, if I wrote earlier Asian Renaissance. I talk about empowerment, about justice, about the role of religion, about values, about justice, okay? But you don't have the same passion for freedom, justice. When I talk of freedom, justice, you know, from the iPad, myself, because they were talking about Les Miserables, so I traveled to Sarawak recently. It's a 2-hour flight back and forth. Now we're just going through again. I mean, I to reread it, but just rereading Les Miserables when I was in prison and prior to that, it was a world of a difference. When you talk about poverty, when you talk about Jean's experience, stealing some, petty things and being in prison for so long, and you saw yourself in prison and see this thing continuing to happen. Yesterday, somebody was in prison for 6 months for stealing something from the supermarket. When the minister took R500 million of commission and given an additional honorific title. You see, to what Victor Hugo wrote. So the point is, this is emotion. This is a compassion. This is important in politics. I met those days, prime ministers. I've not met your new prime minister, but I met Kevin Rudd and Howard and most of the prime ministers. All in here, Hong Kong and then China, and I mean, some are good, some are quite concerned, some are not. But you must have the passion. Without the passion, I don't think we can really serve the people. I know people are really good. I mean, many young guys say, politicians, they say, you give all sorts of silly promises. Once you get to power, damn, you don't care a damn what's happening. And I understand. Because they are right in many ways. So, my majority of the young are with us, So I got to keep very youthful. Sorry, last, because I got to go.
Just out of curiosity, are you considering changes to the electoral process? Like, maybe change first past the post to preferential voting? Or hire out a secular type committee?
There's a big issue about electoral fraud in this country.
Yeah, that's just what.
And I need your support on this. You must do something, go back, write to protest, whatever, as a group, and write to the Malaysian High Commission and the government and whatever. There's a team now from America at the lunch, I set up for lunch with them. On the 12th of January, it will be a major rally. We expect 100,000, 200,000 people. We have asked for the stadium, the government has not replied. So at 2:30 just now, we sent representatives to meet the Inspector of General Police, which is a new thing. The IGP were not used to this sort of meeting opposition. They had a meeting just now. That's a major issue now. But the process, I have not thought of what changes later. Yeah. But for now, we must clean up the electoral roll. We must have access to the media, which I don't have. Now I'm opposition leader. I don't have even 1 minute of airtime. And I'm invited by students to speak in the university. I can't enter these universities, including universities that I have helped to build. But don't underestimate. I was in Sarawak. I gave an address once, and thousands of students came out from campus and still listen. So it's still okay.
You've got a very good PR team, but I take it through social media.
I must thank mainly the young. They forced me when I was teaching in Georgetown. They forced me to start a blog. So
now we have to do one too.
Boring. Then they said you have to start tweeting. Oh my God! And they asked all this. Have you watched Les Miserables? And then where do you go for your haircut? And somebody commented, say, why must you be shaving your head? Do you know that your segment should not be shaved at a certain level? It should go low. Please. I mean, you have to tolerate because that's the social media. At first, I said, why? You can't. I was I mean, sometimes I try to say, I think your shirt's a bit too big. They commented on this thing. But which is okay, it is fair. Some very nasty, of course. No? You are a Jewish agent, you are an American spy, or this. So I think, yeah. And you are corrupt, or this, or you're stolen from the country, you are a sodomist, or you are, or also, there are, but not too many. But I know we have got 400,000 for countries like Malaysia, Facebook, tweet. So I do, every time I get the card, just respond to a few. I'm having exams tomorrow, can you pray for me? Number do that. If I, frank or honest, I say, damn it, you better study hard. I say, yes, I'll pray for you. But sometimes I do make some funny comments. Is it like, how come I'm trying my girl ditched me. I said, you try and behave yourself. I do sometimes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
if
you.
you become Prime Minister by the time I come next year with my group, can we get another meeting with you?